We're back. We discovered the problem. It seems that the microphone that we hooked up for Renee interfered with everything else. So we are back. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the gremlins are gone. Yay! Hi again. Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed that everything works the way it's supposed to. Hi, Cindy.
Rebonjour.
Rebonjour. Yay, we're back. Yes, that everything seems to be working fine. Hello. Thanks so much for sticking it out with us, guys. We appreciate that. So, unfortunately, we had to ditch Renee's mic because that seems to have been what caused everything else to back it in. Oh, don't see the membership little icons? Huh. I don't know. Everything's been so glitchy the last few days. Yeah. I mean, everything has been so glitchy, so I'm not the least bit surprised. Glad to see you guys. Debbie Marlowe, thank you. It is working. Yes. Now let's check the top down. Yay! Look at that. And the palette cam is working. Awesome. Yes, we have missed Renee, haven't we? He is here.
Hello.
There we go. I just moved my mic a little further away from me. Poor Renee doesn't get his say. Nothing ever stops Renee from having his say. Aw. Woohoo, we love you, Renee. Louise Long. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for sticking it out. We really appreciate you. Excellent. So just to reiterate, for those that weren't with us on the first effort, we have some fabulous giveaways today. We have a 3-brush set, large brush set of Dynasty Black Gold specialty brushes, a beautiful varnishing brush, a traditional lettering brush, sign painter's brush, and a nice big base coating brush. Fabulous giveaway. And then included in that, we have one of our Create bags, and it's filled with a variety of goodies, including some stuff from Tombow and some stuff from Renee and I, which is a really great little brush cleaner and a whole bunch of other little goodies that we like to pop in there, including a container of my lip balm. So there is one of those in there. So everybody, make sure that you comment, like, share, hit all of the buttons so that we can put your name on the wheel at the end of the day, and 3 of you will win one of those giveaways.
Zombie Bob.
Zombie Bob, yeah. He found my sticker of Zombie Bob.
Zombie Bob.
Zombie Bob. I love these.
You only have the one?
Oh my gosh. No way, Lucy. Hi, Bonnie. Robert Pearson. Hello. Yes, I'm back. And Paula McCoy. Oh, it's so nice you guys stuck it out with us. Thanks so much. So we're going to paint this one. It's called Harvest Blessing. I love the colors in this. I love the colors in this. Very traditional. This is a very classic fall or Thanksgiving type design. I have a big love for all things enamelware. So this is one of my favorite pieces. This is actually based on an enamelware picture that I have in my dining room. I've had it for years. It's one of my favorite pieces, and I just love how this looks. And I've done this type of line drawing several times, and I change it up a little bit every time because I really like the shape of this. It's very elegant and very simple. And I fill it with flowers, or I fill it with a bunch of things. But this time around, I wanted to fill it with wheat because it just had I love the color palette, and I really love the sort of laciness of this. And this is a really fun element to paint. It's very simple. You need a good round brush. That's all you really need for this. It's a really good round brush. And we're going to be doing a lot of double loading. We're going to be picking up multiple colors. And this one is super easy to paint. So this is what we're going to do. And to get started on it, we're going to work on that background. Now, initially, I had chosen buffalo check to do the background, and it looked very heavy. It did not have, there was a very dense feel to it. It had a very heavy looking background, and it competed with the design, and I didn't want that. I wanted something a little lighter, a little airier, but I really like the elegance of this. I think that this works very well with that. A nice contrast to the sort of rustic look is having this, more elegant design in the background. So this is what I chose to do. I frequently use this lighter value in these simpler paintings, just to put this sort of bit of a highlight into the background to separate the tabletop from the background. And I'm going to show you a really easy way to do this because it's just stupid simple. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And we are going to do this fun stenciling in the background for this. And then, of course, we're going to do a little bit of lettering because it's me and I love lettering. But we're going to be painting this fun little piece. I love the tag. It's just the tag is just, I don't know. I like all things rustic and country and whatnot. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, I've prepped my piece ahead of time. I have my line drawings in place. I have my picture already base coated. So we're going to stencil the background. And I'm going to be using, this is M279, which is the brocade stencil. I really love this design. It's been a favorite of mine for a very long time. And we're going to tape the stencil in place. So I also like to make sure that the design goes off the page. I think it just gives a nice element of continuity. So it goes off of the page. And the color we're going to use for the background is one of my favorites. It's this one, Cobblestone. And we're going to use very sparingly. This brush should be almost dry when you do this. So make sure you blot on a little paper towel somewhere. We don't want this to be really harsh. So light touch, circular fashion, change directions frequently. The brush should be almost straight up and down when you do this. Just like so. So you're not going to worry too much about getting this perfect. We're not interested in perfection. What we are interested in is a very soft appearance. You see how delicate that looks? So it's not a really fully opaque application. It's very dry, very soft, very muted. It's going to put the design back there, but it's not going to come screaming out at you. So then you're going to move your stencil and you're going to position it roughly the same way. And I kind of like it so that it just barely touches right there. And I'm going to tape that in place and we're going to reload the stencil brush. Again, the stencil brush should be almost dry. We are not looking for a fully opaque application. It should be very, very light and very dry looking. We want this design a little muted. Soft and muted. Now the fun part about this is that if it gets a little too opaque or a little too bright, we can put a wash of black over top of it, which we may have to do because it seems like I got a little heavy-handed here. There we go. Look at that. So this is what I mean. It has to be very soft and delicate. A couple of spots here where it got a little bright, but that's okay. And then, again, carry it over. Leave a small space. Again, continuity. It's important that the design doesn't just stop. It has to continue elsewhere. And I've always liked this appearance, that it continues. So it just sort of draws along. So it implies that this design extends long past the borders of this piece. So there we go. Now, if at any time your stencil looks a little too bright, you can just take a little bit of lamp black and thin it with a little bit of glaze or water. Either one will work. You don't need a lot either. And you take a nice large brush. And when I say thin it, you're going to thin it out. You do not want this paint opaque. So, nice wash of the black over top. So if at any time the stencil gets a little too bright, you could just put a little wash of lamp black over top of it, whatever your background color is. And it'll subdue it enough. And if you thin the paint well, it gives you a lot more control. So you can look at it, wait till it's dry, and if it still looks too bright, you can do it again. Hi, Terry. Good to have you with us. Exactly, Donna. It does look like old wallpaper. So I'm going to dry this. That little light wash. Hi, Jerry. It just subdues that stencil a little bit more. Of course, you can always sand this a little too. There we are. So look how pretty that is. It's a nice, elegant, and almost any stencil, something lacy and delicate back there with an individual design would work really well. Diamonds also worked very well for this. I kind of like that harlequin where you let it disappear. Using a diamond pattern works as well. I initially wanted the buffalo check because I like that sort of rustic country look, but it just did not work with this design. So I opted for something to the other extreme, something with a little more elegance. So it makes for such a pretty background. It also makes it a little elegant, gives it a little something extra. So one of the things that I love doing with this stuff, anything like this, is I love adding a little bit of age to things. So I'm going to rinse out my brush. And I'm going to put a float of thinned asphaltum all the way around the outside edge. Because I like my asphaltum. I think you guys know that. And I kind of want this to have a little bit of age to it. So I'm using thinned asphaltum, nice wide float all the way around the outside edge and into the corners. I like seeing a little in the corners. Ta-da. It's another one of those neatness doesn't count things, right? I like it around the outside edge, but it does not have to be the perfect meticulous float. We want this to sort of have a natural aged look. A little bit of warmth. I find a little asphaltum over the black warms it up a little. It doesn't keep that harsh, hard look. There we go. I love it. A little bit. Like I said, not a lot. Doesn't need it. But that little bit into the corners and at the edges just ages it enough. Warms up the black a little bit. And we'll dry this, and then I'll show you how to do this background, because this is just so easy. And it's a fun way to do it. There we go. So we have a little bit of painter's tape. Right at that tabletop, we're going to put little painter's tape. And then in the background behind this, we want a very light highlight. And I'm going to do it with a little bit of cobblestone. And the brush is almost completely dry. So I'm just going to very lightly just scumble a little bit of cobblestone back there. And when I say the brush is almost dry, I mean it is almost bone dry. It's almost like there's a powder on the brush. Just like that. So it just adds a very light scumble like that. You ready? All right. Et voila. So there's your little highlight in the background, and all it is just very light stenciling with hardly any paint on the brush. Just a nice light dry brush, very light dry brush of cobblestone back there. Just like that. And having that piece of tape down there just keeps that nice straight edge. So I'm going to take my Factus black. I want to remove that black, that white line of graphite just for a minute so that you can see. Look at how gives you a nice. So we've got our highlight in, and it's such a simple way to do it. Exactly, Diane. Just you want a light highlight back there. It just keeps this from looking completely flat, and it also keeps this from looking like it's floating, because now that highlight has indicated a tabletop. So we're in good shape. And I erased a little too hard. I can still see my graphite line, but I actually erased some of the paint that I put on there. That's what I get for being too impatient. There we go. Easy breezy. It's a great way to put a highlight back there. So I've got my my picture already base coated, just to save a little time. But we're going to start with our pumpkin here. And we're going to use Warm Sunset. I love this color. Not really a traditional pumpkin color, but I love it for pumpkins. It's a nice orange. It's a very nice orange. I'm going to grab just a round brush or a filbert. And we're going to start by base coating our pumpkin. And I like to base coat these in segments. And I want this pumpkin to sort of have that painterly look. I'm not looking for the meticulous tool painted appearance. I want a painterly look. So I don't necessarily want this to be perfect. So I paint and base coat following the shape of each segment. And I'm going to leave a very thin, narrow space between each segment. Just like that. You can see it. It's just a narrow space. It's called Warm Sunset, Nancy, is the name of the orange. Not technically an orange per se. Oh, he's back. Everything seems to be working just fine. Thank you.
Hello.
12:46 p.m. Oh, Patrick, it's like 7 o'clock his time.
It's nighttime.
It's nighttime. It's probably already dark. That we all.
He's just trying to convince either Dad or myself to go outside.
Oh, yeah.
Just walking around the house with the ball in her mouth.
Oh. Yep. Sooner or later, somebody will take her out. That dog is too smart for her own good.
Yep.
Dad was trying to ignore her earlier today.
How'd that go?
Didn't.
Mm-hmm. She did eat a sock.
She ate a sock?
Well, destroyed a sock.
Okay. Whose sock?
Mine.
Oh, okay. Well, she generally steals socks when nobody's paying attention. And that's her way of getting attention.
Yeah.
She is far too smart for her own good. Easy peasy.
Oh, buffalo chicken pizza.
Buffalo chicken pizza.
Oh, it's so good. No, why?
I'm not making pizza.
No.
No.
Got up this morning and my mattress was half off the bed.
Did it have help? She does it out of revenge. To have off the bed. Sheet lay on the floor. Looked like Hubs and I had a wild night. Not. My 2 Yorkies are running around playing. Okay. Whew. Glad you clarified that, Deb. Oh,
There is pizza. Yoink.
there is pizza. Well, maybe. I don't know. So, quick base coat. Again, nothing really fancy. I'm not really worried about it. We've got 4 or 5 layers of color to go over top of this yet. So, I'm going to quickly grab. This one needs to be a little bit darker. So, there we are. So remember what I said. I wanted this to have a painterly look. So I'm not really worrying too much about, you know, sharp, crisp edges and things like that. So let's dry this real quick. Now, I used green in one place in this piece, and that's in the stalk of this pumpkin. Apologize, my nose is very stuffy, so. Oh my goodness. Where did my ringer? Oh, there it is. I grabbed one of my ringers and realized that there's paint dried in it. I don't know how I did that, but obviously I forgot to clean it. So I will have to give it a thorough cleaning later today. So little antique green for the stem. And then I'm going to dry all of this and then we'll be set. Snow in Alberta in October. No great surprise there. Did I ever figure... I am using, this is the one I replaced because this one actually overheats. It gets very, very hot, so I don't like to use it. I did order a new one. The one that died last week was the one that I had ordered to replace this one. I'm not sure why I didn't throw this one out, but I'm glad I kept it. So I have another one ordered, but I think because I use it so much, like this thing is used at every single day. And so unfortunately, I think I just killed it. It just hit the point where it's like, no, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. So that was it. So we're going to start shading this pumpkin with asphaltum. And in this particular case, we're going to be shading multiple times so that we get the shadow, the depth that we want. And it's important in this one because this pumpkin is not sitting right up next to the picture. It's actually sitting in behind it a little bit. So we really want nice deep shadows in there. So I start by separating the picture from the pumpkin. So I've got one little float of asphaltum in there, and that's going to be the start of those. And then we're going to start shading into those indentations in our pumpkin. There we go. A little bit of thinned asphaltum. I'm using a 3/8 angle because this is a smaller space. And I like the 3/8 because I can tuck it right in to those little tight areas, those smaller spaces, without too much difficulty. Now, the bottom of our pumpkin here needs to be shaded as well. So we've got a nice little U-shaped float of asphaltum along the bottom here. And this helps create that curve in our pumpkin and in there. So we've got that first shading in. I'll dry that. I love asphaltum for this. You can do so many fun things with it. How do I get dried paint out of a brush? That's a great question. Hi, Carol. In just a second, and I will be happy to show you how I get dried paint out of a brush because it's really dry. Here we go. So I'm going to set this aside to dry for a second. And here's my rigger. I've literally got some white paint. Forgot, and it literally has dried. It's hard at the tip. And this is what I call a rescue effort. I don't advise doing this too frequently because, especially if you're using a natural hairbrush, this is isopropyl alcohol. And so I can just dip that in there. Try not to get the alcohol up over the ferrule. Just keep small quantities of it. But it will break down acrylic paint very quickly. Hand sanitizer works too, but the higher the level of alcohol, the better. So this is working already. So then it will break down the paint really quickly. But it is not something I recommend doing all too often. It's like hand sanitizer. There is a limit to how often you should use it because it will do two things. One, it'll break down the glue in the ferrule if you get it up there too often. And it'll also dry out the bristle, especially in natural bristle brushes. In synthetics, it's not really a concern, but in natural bristle brushes, it is. So I use the alcohol till it starts to soften the paint, and then you can just gently move it away out of the bristle, like so. And then once all of the bristles open up, they're no longer stuck together. You see how that brush is opening up now? When you get it to that point, you can put your alcohol away. And then use your favorite brush cleaner. In this case, I am using the Decoarts Brush Magic. And then just give your brush a thorough cleaning with your regular brush cleaner. Or Jack's Studio Soap is a great one because that stuff will condition the brushes at the same time. And then all you have to do is clean the brush, rinse it, lay it flat to dry. But a little bit of isopropyl alcohol will work wonders for cleaning dried brush, especially out of fine brushes like these riggers. You know, smaller bristle brushes, riggers, liners, etc. It's a great way to remove the paint. But look at this. Now the brush is right back to what it's supposed to be, and all of the paint is removed. Super easy. So, what size brush for the pumpkins? I'm using a number 5 round and a 3/8 angle for shading. So that's nice and dry. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So I'm going to just put one more shading back there. We have oodles yet to do. We're going to put a shadow on the back side of that stem with a little asphaltum as well. Easy peasy. There we are. Doesn't take much to shade that. So we're going to be creating some nice little highlights. One of my favorite colors, bright orange. I love bright orange. It's a great highlight color for this warm sunset, but it isn't so far away from the original color. So we're going to put a highlight at the top of our pumpkin. Look at this. And this is one of the reasons I don't worry too much about that line that we put in, that space, because when we do this part, we can sneak right up on those lines. So there's your bright orange. And now I've got a little bit of warm sunset on this brush as well. You can do this with the angled shader, or you can do this with the round. It has a more painterly look. I'm not looking for the perfect float for this, but we need that brighter color at the top of the pumpkin. And I'm using a lot of the chisel edge of this brush. Just at the top. You don't need to have a ton of paint on that brush either. Little bit of bright orange, great color. Bright orange is such a lovely, lovely color. Yeah, that highlight does pop, but it's not really that far off of. It's not really that far off of the base color. It is about 2 values brighter, but that's about it. So this is what we're aiming for. So that pumpkin is going to be, as I said, it's a more of a painterly look than a toll painted look. So I'm going to put a little warm white on my palette. Good gravy. Out of paint again. I'm going to switch to a round because this part will get a little easier. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that bright orange and a little bit of warm white. I just want to make it a little bit lighter. And I'm going to just pity pat a little bit in. We're not looking for like super bright highlight in here. It's a little pity pat, and it's just a small amount of that warm white and a little of that bright orange. Just a little bit of warm white. I just want to brighten the orange a little. You guys talking about sinus issues. I've been dealing with allergies like crazy. Don't know what I'm allergic to. Tequila always tastes good, Deb. Here we go. Now you can take that little puddle that you made with the white and the orange. Oops, not quite enough orange. And you're going to put a little, see how just a little highlight in there. It's nothing fancy. It's not even perfect. But at the higher points of the pumpkin, we need a little bit of that brighter orange again, just at the higher points of the pumpkin, like that. It is not, you can see that it's not a perfect highlight by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to go in and deepen some shadows. And there we go. So I've got my favorite 3/8 angle, a little more asphaltum, and we're going to, again, put a nice little float of asphaltum in there. So those deeper shadows kind of meld this pumpkin and push it back away from the picture. And I love how that looks. I like those deeper values. I don't worry about those. Remember those little spaces that we put in? I'm not worried about those. They're going to be part of our pumpkin. So there is our nice deep floats. And then we're going to take a little dry brush, because I like my dry brush. Oh, goodness. Of course, I just flung it across the room trying to get it out of the... We're going to use a little bit of warm white. Remember that little puddle of orange? We're going to use a little bit of that and a little more warm white. And we're going to give this a brighter highlight right here with just a little dry brush. I like the textures that this provides, these dry highlights. This pumpkin should not be overly shiny, but I like that little dry brush. I'm never quite using pure white. I like that. A little bit of orange added to that. It just helps soften this pumpkin dramatically. There we go. So there's our pumpkin. Now I'm going to come back towards the end. We'll put a little highlight on the stem of our pumpkin. I'm going to use a little bit of warm white mixed with that antique green. We just need a little highlight in here, like so. Doesn't have to be much, but it has to match the value of the highlight on the pumpkin. So do I have spare time? Okay, what am I missing here? What does somebody need me to provide? Could provide us with one in my spare time. What are you talking about? Hi, Verdi. So an easy peasy pumpkin. I love the layers. I love layers, layers, layers. So that pumpkin is just fabulous. I love the colors in it. It's sort of that orangey yellow tone to it, and it works so well with this. We are going to pull some of that orangey yellow into the wheat and whatnot as well, so we get that nice warm toasty look. An inventory list for the patterns. An inventory. You want a list of all of my patterns? I do have a list of all of my patterns, but it's about 13 pages long. I have over 800 patterns. I've produced more than 400 just in the last 2 years. So yeah, I have a lot of patterns. And that's one of the reasons that that I put the page up on the website of $2 the dollar days patterns. That's going to end this week on Monday. So the $2 days, all of those patterns that are on there are going to be retired, which means they're going to come off the website for the time being. They may come back at a later date, but I don't know. Essentially, what happens with the website is that it becomes unmanageable after a while, and we've hit like 30 or 40 pages. So I've decided that it's a good idea to start taking some off, particularly older patterns and patterns that don't necessarily sell well. So that's essentially what we're doing. It's just we're trying to make room because it becomes a really big job to manage all of that on there. So and it makes it hard for people to find what they're looking for when they have to scroll through page after page after page after page. So it's just going to trim it down and take some off of the site for a while, just because it does get to be a bit much, especially when I'm adding 1 to 2 patterns every week. So sometimes it gets to be a bit much. So we're going to move on to our picture. Again, I'm going to be shading with some asphaltum because, you know, I love asphaltum. It's one of my favorite colors. Chicken noodles with mashed potatoes. Yummy. That smells good. Oh, you were not alone on that, Deb. So we're going to start by shading our picture with a little bit of asphaltum. Now I like to thin the asphaltum, and I'm going to start with the handle. I'm using the wrong brush. I'm going to start with the shadows on the handle. I keep running out of paint today. Honestly. I need a bottle of asphaltum. There we go. I keep running out of paint. Every bottle I pick up today is either, 3/4 empty or half empty or empty. So, clear palettes. I'm going to move my water basin, brushes over there, palette there, and a brand new bottle of asphaltum. So a little bit of asphaltum. And we're going to start on the inside of the handle, right here. There's a nice little curve in that handle, so we need to give it a nice curve. Right there. And then we're going to repeat that float right here. Just like so. And you can walk that float out a little bit. I like to bring it out quite a bit. And then we're going to float underneath the rim of that pitcher right there. Now when you do this float on the upper portion of the pitcher here, make sure you blur that edge a little bit. None of these are perfect floats. We want this pot or pitcher to have a sort of distressed look. Mine is not perfectly smooth. It's been dinged and banged around over the millennia, so it looks a little careworn. And we're going to put a nice little float here along the bottom. Now, the pitcher is base coated with 2 coats of warm white. I like my warm white. You guys know that too. Almost as much as I like asphalt. So I've got that first float in, and now when I'm doing this, I'm thinking about how this would wear. So I like to have, deeper floats in some areas. So on the left and right, these floats are going to get a little darker. We want them a little darker at these edges because this thing is round. It's cylindrical, so the light impact point is over here. So we need these shadows to be a little darker in places. And you can walk them out. And then definitely don't do what I just did and try to float over top of a wet float. You just end up taking color off. There we go. And that's frustrating. And I've done that so many times this week, it's ridiculous. There we are. So there's nothing about this that is neat, tidy, and perfect. I don't like neat, tidy, and perfect. We want this picture to have that look of being careworn, time-worn. Okay, my picture is starting to look what I want it to look like. So I've got 3 pretty good floats of asphaltum on there. I dry them well in between so that we get, nice depth. And I like to walk them in, so as you can see, it gets a little deeper, a little darker at the outside edges and a little lighter towards the center of the... So, the color that I use to give this thing that sort of rusty, distressed look is this one. This is Red Spice. I really love this color. Really, really love this color. It's very transparent and it works exceptionally well for distressed looks. It has an orange cast to it, which ties nicely to our pumpkin over here, which is why I went with this. In previous patterns, whenever I've done a picture like this, I've always added some rust to it. Some real rust to give it that textured appearance. In this case, I kind of wanted it to have that stained rust look. So I'm using Red Spice. I love this tone. So wherever I put the asphaltum, I'm going to put a float of Red Spice. Just like that. I just love the tone that this gives everything. So I'm going to put a layer of that Red Spice over top of the asphaltum. I just love how that looks. I love that sort of, when enamelware or an old enamel sink has had too much iron in the water and they get that line of that orangey stain on it. There's something about that when it's on old enamelware that is just so appealing. I love the tone of it. There's that old, beat up, I've been around for 50, 60, 70 years. Kind of like the rest of us. I love that tone. And you can darken it, deepen it. You can put more of it on, less of it on if you want to. However much you put on, it's not going to be wrong. That's what I love about it. And it works so well with this. You see how it marries so nicely to that. Love it. There's something about that rusty water tone, just yummy. It's nice, warm, it's very rich. And it's so, so pretty. And you can make it as dark or as bright as you want. I'm going to stop there because I'm going to dry this. Because typical of me, I get very heavy-handed with it. Oh, Deb, I love thrift stores too, and junk stores and antique shops, and I love old stuff. Garage sales, love them, love them, love them. And I'm obsessed with bottles and jars lately. Don't ask me why. Oh, Gail got snow. They got snow. So now that I've got that color on, I'm going to deepen it a little bit. I'm going to put a nice little float of asphaltum over top of it. And all that does is just tones it a little bit, deepens the color. I'm using heavily thinned asphaltum, by the way. And this time around, I'm shading that little line there, and I'm also shading the seam at the base. And I'm getting that color up over top of all of that white. Remember that white border on our can? On our picture. I want to deepen all of that. All of those things get that little shadow because it needs it. It doesn't need to be bright white. I'm a huge fan. I love this color. There we go. And I love that little bit of rusty red, it just gives our picture that a little more authenticity, I find. There we go. Love it. Such a fun piece. Now, one of the things that I have discovered that I really love is when something has too much liquid. I love the little drips and runs. And if you like them too, then don't be afraid to do them. I like to have a little fun with it. I like those little flaws in things. That's always been just gives things a bit more character. So you can play with this color as much or as little as you want. If you want it to be perfect, that's fine. If you want your shadows and everything to be absolutely meticulous, that's fine too. It's your piece. I do not. I like the flaws. I like the imperfections, so to speak. And I've gotten a little heavy-handed with it because that's me. I get heavy-handed. So I'm just going to thin it out a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to dry this. And then we're going to work on that tag. I like the tag. Now, the tag is base coated with oyster beige. Not a color that I use often, but I really wanted a lighter value for that tag in there. And so I decided on a little oyster beige. And we're going to shade the edges of the tag, with a little bit of thin asphaltum. And I think that's a little not quite thinned enough, but we'll fix that. So I'm just putting a float at the outside edges of the tag, like so. Just darkens the tag without making it heavy. So I've got a little float on the outside edge. And then we're going to put a cast shadow in, or a dropped shadow. And we're going to do that with asphaltum as well. Now I want this tag to be sort of not laying on the surface. I want it to float up a little bit. So I'm going to literally mimic the shape of the tag, but I'm going to come to the left. And I'm going to use thin asphaltum to paint in the shadow of our tag. Right up to the edge. Just like that. So essentially, I'm mimicking the shape of the tag, but about 1/8 of an inch away from the surface. Now, I need a liner for this next thing, because this one is important. I'm going to use some heavily thinned asphaltum, and we're going to put a shadow for that string. The string that attaches the tag, it needs to have a shadow. And that shadow is going to come out past the edge of this and come around and meet the top of the tag. Like that. So we've got a fine line here. And it comes down and it meets the top of the shadow tag. So that when we do this, take that black gel pen, you're going to start there, come down, and meet up. So now you see the shadow cast by both the string and the tag. And then with the gel pen, you're going to do this because it's me thing. I like that sketchy line. I like the imperfect. Just a light, irregular outline to our tag with lots of little imperfections and flaws because that's just fun and I like it that way. And it's ready for the lettering. And the lettering is very simple. We're going to do that towards the end. So I'm going to dry this real quick. And we're going to start talking about our wheat. Now, the colors that I chose for our wheat are pretty simple. I've chosen deep ochre, sunset gold, because I really like that thing, and a little bit of sunny day. And then, of course, we have warm white. Now, this part is really quite simple. I need a good round brush. So I'm choosing, I've got a number 5 Dynasty Black Gold round. So we're going to, this is sort of a double loaded technique. Now, some of the girls that watch here, Lucy, I know you're going to recognize this. And Robin Storm, I know you're going to recognize this too. You're going to, this is a multi-load technique. So I'm going to pick up on the round brush a whole bunch of that deep ochre. And then I'm going to pick up some sunset gold. And we're going to start with base coating those larger blades of grass. Those long sheaths, let's put it that way. So you're going to press that down and pull it out. These aren't perfect. Don't expect them to be perfect. They don't need to be. And I love this look. This very loose look. I like it because for something like this, the grasses tend to look more natural instead of very stinted and or stunted. I like the appearance of it. Where's my brush? Is not behaving. Here we go. My brush is not behaving. I grabbed the wrong brush. I need a new one. There. I had a round brush that's not happy. Okay, that's much better. All right. So these are just stroked in. Don't worry about them being perfect. They don't need to be. And this is only the first color, so. Da, da, da. So we've got nice little blades. Of course, I'm not having round brush luck today. This one's doing the same thing. Didn't want to release. Probably grabbed the 2 oldest round brushes in my bin. There we go. And then I'm going to grab a rigger. And I'm going to use that sunset gold. I love this color. And I'm going to stroke in a few longer blades, like so. They don't have to be perfect. They can run out. Of course, that one did. There we are. So essentially, we're just building in some nice long blades of grass for our wheat. Some are thick, some are thin. And as I said, I prefer to have them stroked in this way. I've just found the color works so much nicer. Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Puppy needed to burn energy.
Oh, yeah. What kind of mayhem did she create?
She's just playing in the leaves and
Oh, is she?
chasing the ball.
There we go. Nice.
Gail says she wishes that she had the brush control you do.
That just comes with practice. Oodles and oodles of it. Somebody's just stuck her head through the pet door. So, I had a handful of round brushes yesterday. And do you think I can find any of them? No.
Didn't you use a round for the pumpkin?
Yes, but I need a newer round. Maybe I'll use a filbert. I'm going to use a filbert. Actually, filbert wave. So I'm going to dry this really well. I love that some of these leaves they're not perfect, that they sort of drift away. I love that. There we go. Okay, so painting the wheat. This part's really fun. So I'm going to use a liner brush and some thinned sunset gold, heavily thinned. And we're going to just lightly stroke in the stems for this wheat. So fairly fine line. All this does, by putting those lines in, it just helps you with direction. That's all it does. And it gives you a center line to work from. And it's very handy to have that line in there. So that you have an element of control over this. There we go. Sandy Jackson. She has to go to work. Have a great day at work, Sandy. There we are. So, now the thing I almost forgot, and I nearly forgot it the other day when I was working on this piece, was this. I have this. There is a leaf here. And we have wheat here. So don't forget this one as well. There we are. So, I know this just looks really loose and kind of wonky, but I promise you it will look like wheat when we're done. Just make sure, if I don't dry this, I'm going to put my hand or elbow or something's going to get covered in. So the wheat is essentially a series of comma strokes, rough comma strokes. So I'm using a small filbert. You can use a round brush. You can use whatever works for you. But I'm using a filbert wave, and I'm going to pick up some of that.
You can't see the...
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Oh, no, it's just me. Okay. Oh, look at that. So I've got a little bit of that deep ochre, a little bit of sunset gold, and you're going to pick up a tiny bit of that sunny day. And you're going to start at the base, nearest the stem, and you're going to make a small comma stroke. And it's a series of small comma strokes, like so. Just like that. Now, I like to have that little bit of sunny day in there because it keeps them from being all one color. And it changes the value of them quite nicely. They do not have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So don't be afraid to just get that color in there. And the comma strokes go on each side of that center line that we drew. Look at that. They do not have to be perfect. I like that they have that sort of imperfect, almost fuzzy end to them. If they're perfect little teardrops, they're not so. There we go. I like that variation in them by having those 3 different colors, and nothing is perfect. They take on a really nice natural look. I love that golden look. Hi, M. Milinik. Just recently found me. Oh, thank you. I like your taste. Welcome. We have a lot of fun. So that little comma stroke, I love how it makes nice wispy looking wheat. We are going to do a little bit more with this too. So here's my wheat. And And this way, it doesn't all fall into that one direction. It's not all right in front. It's sort of mixed in with all of these leaves and gives you a nice loose look. See? Oh, I need a little more color here. There we go. I like the randomness of this, the irregularities. If you've been watching for any length of time, you know I don't like perfection. Perfection is boring. Neatness doesn't count. Just relax and have some fun with it. So we have wheat. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. Remember our little pumpkin buddy back here? So I'm going to put a little bit of wheat here. There's wheat. Here we are. I like this. This is a fast and easy way to get this wheat look. Oh, thank you guys for making her welcome. That's wonderful. So I'm going to dry this real quick, and then we're going to start adding a little bit of shading to our wheat because we need to give this a little more depth. And we're going to use the same colors that we've used everywhere else. We're going to use a little bit of that red spice and a little bit of that asphaltum. Just keeps everything in the same tonal range, gives everything that nice warm, rich look. Joanne? Good to have you. Better late than never, I always say. So I'm going to grab my 3/8 angle. This is the fun part of this. Doing the stroke work is easy and very forgiving. One of the reasons I went with this is that it's very forgiving. If you mess it up, it's going to be so easy to make it look great, I promise. So we're going to start by putting a few little shadows in, and we're going to separate some of these leaves a little bit. Don't forget that one's got a nice little curve in it. This one is back here, so put a little shadow there. Put a little shadow along the bottom here because it's inside the picture. And the same in here. I love that this is all sort of sitting in there. Don't forget to put that little shadow. It creates a little fold over. Look at that. Of course, I did that on the wrong side. Hello. I need to go this way. Hello. I got a bass backwards, as my dad would have said. And then I'm going to separate this one. Float there. And a little float back here. See how easily you can create depth just with a little shadow? A little float in there. Nice little float under there. One here. Look at this. Just making stuff look nice and deep. Little shadows in there make such a difference. So suddenly, look at all the depth we created with by putting in those little shadows. So I'm going to grab, I'm not cleaning up my brush. I'm just picking up a little extra water. I'm going to pick up some of that red spice because it's such a yummy golden orangey color. And I'm going to deepen those floats in the wheat with a little bit of that orangey color. I love that. That orange, that red spice orange is just such a beautiful tone, especially when you're working with all of these yellows, all of these deep ochre yellows. It's just such a great color for this. Gives you lots of earthy goodness. Love it. And it makes all of those shadows just yum. All those little foldovers. Keeps the life in them, you know? So, I see a shadow that needs to deepen. We need to deepen this one right along here. A little bit. There we go. So, instantly, we've got all this depth in here because we've just changed all of those loose strokes into something with a bit more dimension. So I'm going to dry this. Lisa, I'm with you. I love all the fall colors. This is where my happy place is. I love all of these oranges and yellows. They're awesome. So we have all of this wheat in here. And one of the things that I like, you can use a little bit of that. Remember that bright orange that we use down here? You can bring that into the wheat if you like. Depending on how much. If you find this is looking a little heavy and not light enough, then use the lighter orange. But I'm going to use the red spice because I just love this color. And at the base of each one of these little pieces of wheat, I'm going to put a small float of that orange. That red spice. Just a little one. Doesn't have to be much. Just a little U-shaped float. You know how I paint leaves? I always use that little U-shaped float at the base. I'm going to do that with all of this. Right at the bottom of each one of those. Little float. Doesn't need to be much, but we need a little of that orange in there. That orangey tone. We're going to bring it in. And it does two things. It gives everything a little more heat, warms everything up nicely, but it also gives the wheat a little more dimension, a little more shape. It stops looking like a flat stroke and takes on a roundness. It looks a little more rounded off. So it helps give it a little more shape and a little more dimension. So a little bit. And then the next step we're going to put in here is going to make all of this soft and a little lighter. It's going to give it a more delicate look. It's also going to add a whole bunch more highlight to this wheat. So just a little float. Like I said, it doesn't need to be much. Just a little splash of that orange at the base. It's such a neat little technique. Just bringing in that small amount of color makes such a world of difference. We all tend to overthink things when it comes to this type of thing. We always think that we need to do more, and sometimes less is more. You just need a little bit of color. So I'm going to dry this. I'm going to show you something really fun. Yeah, red spice is a great color. It has that transparency. It has a nice, rich tone to it. It's, in a lot of ways, this is like asphaltum. It has a nice orangey tone to it without being really glaringly orange. And asphaltum is like that for me. It gives you that earthy warmth, that distressed look, that aged look, without looking dirty. And I find a lot of the burnt umbers and umbers that we use traditionally for antiquing, they end up making things look or feel a little dirty instead of aged. And that's one of the reasons that I really like the asphaltum. It get all that warmth, but that transparency allows you to still see the colors. It doesn't flatten out things. And this one falls into that same category. I get all of that orangey tone without killing the rest of the color. So we've got that little flash of orange in there, and it just works. It's great. So I've got my liner brush, and I'm using a 10-aught extra long detail liner. It's a Dynasty Micron, if you're wondering. Oops, sorry, it's not a 10-aught, it's a 5-aught. And we're going to thin out a little bit of Sunny Day. Love this color. And we need it quite thin. And we're going to make this wheat look soft and delicate. And we're going to do that with that little bit of thinned Sunny Day. We're going to start at the stem and come out to the outside edge and just put a little wisp. Just like this. That little thin wisp, as I put it, you see? Those little thin wispy lines. Start at the stem, come around the edge. I love this little connection. I like that little connection to the stem. And then you can take that same mixture and highlight the stem. Just like that. And we're going to do that to all of the wheat. So there's the stem. Connect at the stem, come around the outside and make this little wisp. It's just that easy. That little wisp, if you've ever seen wheat in a wheat field, it's just a little, look at that. So that does a couple of things. It just softens everything very nicely. It's delicate, so you're not overdoing it. Highlight that stem all the way up. Those little wisps end up making this look so much softer than it would otherwise. Otherwise, it would tend to look a little heavy-handed. But putting in those little wisps makes such a difference. Now, if you find that the Sunny Day isn't bright enough, you can add a little bit of warm white to it, which I'm looking at mine. I think it's okay, but I also don't want the lines to get too heavy, if you know what I mean. I need them to be nice and soft and delicate. And they can be long, they can be short. However you choose to do it is up to you. I like that soft, the more delicate look to it. But it also grounds it. If you've noticed that by touching it to the stem at the center line, it grounds everything. It just brings everything together. So it stops looking like a series of comma strokes on either side of a line and starts looking more like wheat. So there's that center vein. Connect and connect. There we are. It just makes things look so much softer. Even when I'm painting leaves, I like that smaller look. Putting those fine lines at the outside edges, it just softens things. Makes them look a little more delicate. There we go. So our wheat, hi Carolyn. You can see that it's taking on that softer, fluffier look because of those fine lines. So this is a little more time consuming. I think perhaps on this piece but it's worth it. It acts like a highlight. It acts as a grounder. And it also helps soften the overall look of your piece. They don't all have to be perfect. They don't even have to be the same length, be honest. But that delicate, see how soft and fluffy things become with those fine lines. I'm a fan. I like a good liner brush too, and this is one of my favorites. I love this liner. Either a 10-aught or the 5-aught extra long detail liner from the Dynasty Microns. This brush just, it holds far more paint than you expect. And liner brushes are notorious for running out of paint. And this one holds far more paint than you anticipate. And I love that look. So almost there. Got a few more little wheat thingies to do. Right, this little one here. Easy peasy. And then we'll do the two down at the bottom here. You need a good quality liner brush. I'm a firm believer. This one as beat up and as grungy as it gets. And it does get really grungy because I use this thing every day. Look at the ferrule. It's like loaded with paint. I have yet to actually kill one of these microns. And I can kill a liner brush very quickly, but these ones have really held up very well considering all the abuse that I put them through. And you can still use the Tracy M coupon code on the brush, guys, just letting you know. So, now, I'm going to come down here and shade this leaf because I forgot to do that. For some unknown reason, I have an aversion to shading these leaves down here. I keep forgetting. I'm going to use a little bit of my orangey red. I love this color. That red spice, just so good. And we're going to use a little bit of that Sunny Day as our highlight color. Now, we've already done the shading on this, but now it's time to put a little light back into things, as they say. So I'm going to use Sunny Day as my highlight color. Pardon me. Good heavens. So, a little bit of Sunny Day on those flip overs, the top. Don't forget to put a little highlight in there. And it's just a float. There we are. A little float over there. I love the Sunny Day. This is one of my favorite yellows. It's a beautiful highlight color. It just does wonderful things for any shade of yellow. It and Baby Duck. I think Baby Duck is another one that I just absolutely love. Here we go. Just a little highlight, doesn't take much. And I am going to do it again with a little bit of a liner because I want to detail some of these edges a little bit. Because I want some fine points on some of these leaves. That's my thing. I want finer points. Look at that. little liner of Sunny Day. Gives you a nice point.
Of course, everything's running smooth now.
Yeah. There we go. So I'm going to dry all of this. We're going to add a nice little highlight by stroking in just a few little filler leaves. I like a little bit. You don't have to have a ton, but just a little. And I like doing them from inside here. They don't have to be connected to anything. Those little fine lines, all they really do is just soften things very nicely. They don't have to be connected to anything. They can just run out.
Really?
What?
I wouldn't expect wine to come out of Oregon.
Are you kidding me? They make great wine.
Really?
Yes.
It's just an odd place to have.
Oh, no. When you drive, you see the vineyards all along the river down there. It's just, they're amazing. Yeah, they make good wine. Red fife wheat. Oh, nice. So I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to talk about lettering. So there's a couple of ways you can do the lettering on the tag. You can freehand it. You can use a gel pen. You can use a paint pen if you want to. You can use a liner brush and use the lettering that's on the tag. I'm going to use my gel pen for this. Because I can, and I'm the boss of me.
Has Renee tried painting?
Renee's actually a talented painter. His brush is an airbrush.
Haven't picked it up in a while.
Nope.
You gotta buy a motorcycle.
You gotta borrow a motorcycle in order to paint. Yeah.
That's my medium.
Yep. But yes, he's actually very talented with an airbrush. There we go.
I never actually touched the surface.
No. Nope. What is the name of the font site for fonts? It's fontbundles.com. Is one of my favorites. There's a number of them out there, but Font Bundles is one of my favorites. So I used a gel pen. I just freehanded Be Thankful onto the tag. But let's talk about this lettering. I'm going to be using a zero rigger for this. This is a very fine font. This one is perhaps one of my favorites. And this one is called Melania. I know I've heard all the jokes. But yes, the name of the font is called Melania. Melanie or Melania. And the color I'm going to use is warm white and asphalto. Those are the two colors we're going to use. That's assuming Font Bundles. Yep. .com, yes. And I need a bottle of warm white. I ran out of warm white earlier.
Will the gel pen bleed when spraying?
No, it doesn't bleed when you spray.
Oh. Does it bleed when you cut it?
Do you bleed when we cut you?
Yes.
There you go. Nope, the gel pen does not bleed when I'm spraying. That's one of the reasons I like this one. Make sure it's good and dry beforehand. Gail Jensen, Renee, I'd like to see some of your airbrushing. So, warm white
you still have the pictures of the tiger bike?
I don't know.
I may have gotten rid of them.
So, number 0, rigor. And a little bit of Josonias. I'm going to thin out this warm white. I like this warm white on this. Yep. Yep. Melanie font. Script. Melanie script. So, I'm going to start at the top. Now, the interesting thing about a rigger is that it forms a chisel edge when you press down on it, so you get a squared off edge. And when you've got the right amount of paint in it, you can use the chisel edge, press down till it fills the space, and then come back up onto the chisel edge. Now, the nice thing about a rigger is that it is designed like a round, like a liner, but it isn't a liner. It has a chisel edge like a flat brush. So it makes doing things like this so much simpler. And it just takes a little bit of practice to get used to using it. And to not think of it as a liner brush. A lot of the time when we pick up one of these, and I see painters do it all the time, they pick up one of these and they treat it like a liner brush without even thinking. They twist it to a point because they're so accustomed to doing that with a liner. But with a rigger, you press it flat so that the brush opens up and it gives you that chisel edge.
The face.
Oh, he's going to show me another puppy.
It's the puppy.
Oh, our puppy? Oh, Miss Todd. What a sweet face.
Scrolling through and that popped up. And, yep. Boopers.
I spend an awful lot of time on our local shelter's website. Far too much time on the local shelter's website. And then the sad part is that I get on there and I see all of these sweet faces that need homes. And I'd like to bring them all home. That's my problem. So I don't dare go there.
If I could find, 5 to 10 acres for sale with a decent house on it. Or 5 to 10 acres with just a big honking barn on it. I can make do. Make it my little place to help the puppers.
That would be quite the dream, wouldn't it?
They're out there, you just gotta find it.
Yeah. Like Asher House.
Like Asher House, yeah.
Yeah. There we are. I know, Kathy, ours are the same. Go to your local shelter. There's so many animals there that need homes. And they will be eternally grateful. So I'm going to rinse out my brush, and I'm going to, ooh, God. I'm going to switch over to my extra long detail liner because I need a fine line for this. I'm not quite as steady today as I usually am. And I'm just going to use my liner to put my connecting lines in. Ordinarily, I could do all of these connectors with my rigger, but not today. I don't quite have the steady hand. So I'm using my extra long detail liner to do this.
What's 600 square meters? Is that less than an acre?
Yeah, it's about a half acre, maybe a quarter acre. We're on a half acre.
Need more than that.
Yeah.
How about 3,971 square meters?
That might do.
Yeah. Found a cleared lot for just under 25 grand.
Ta-ta-ta.
It's just out near Harvey. Far away enough to be left alone.
Patrick, one of my colleagues lives in the school flats, has a Malinois now.
Uh-oh.
It's still a baby yet. She's quite big. I was a bit afraid at the beginning, but all she wants from you is love. I like her. Yes, but their love is fairly aggressive. That's the thing.
It's aggressive love.
It's aggressive love. We get aggressive cuddles from Maeve all
Deb!
the time. Which Deb?
Bloomfield.
What did Deb do?
$20.
Awesome sauce. Thank you,
Into
Deb.
the pup fund.
Awesome.
How many acres? I gotta find out what many acres that is.
Oh, I just realized I missed a spot on the edge. Some days, I swear. This is such a pretty font, and it's an easy one to read. A lot of really elaborate fonts are difficult to read. Not that they're difficult to paint, but they're difficult to read. I know that sounds strange, but just because it's pretty doesn't mean that it's a functional font when it comes to stuff like this. It's okay if you're only doing, a couple of words, but sometimes a font is just very hard to read. Have you seen the videos on Facebook? What?
It's 1 acre.
Yeah. There we are. So I to fix my letter. There we go.
That doesn't make sense. 3,971 square meters is 1 acre.
Okay.
And all I can think in my head is that's almost 4 kilometers.
Yeah. Okay, so I just gotta touch up a couple of things right here. I've got one letter that's just a little wonky. There we go. And make sure I've got all my connectors in place. Nothing worse than erasing the graphite lines and discovering that you missed some. So I'm going to dry this, and now we're going to age the lettering just a little bit. But first I want to get rid of the graphite lines. So I'm going to make sure this lettering is really dry. Yes, it does make lettering less tedious because it simplifies the process.
Nope.
But
There we go. Best player. Just gonna come up with 50 grand and I got 3.7 hectares.
Okay. 3.7 hectares?
Yep.
Okay.
That's 50 grand.
Okay.
It's out in Fredericton Junction.
Oh.
There's nothing there.
There'd be nothing on it.
But 3.7 hectares.
Yeah.
It's 3.7. That's 10 acres.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 acres, but no services. So we're going to erase all of these graphite lines because we don't want to seal them in. And removing them makes the letters look much crisper, much cleaner. There we are. So the final step to this lettering is pretty simple, actually. So we're going to take a little bit of asphaltum. If you're looking for those riggers, they're available on the Brush Guys. They're also available on Sandy Mateer's website. And on both places, you use the coupon code Tracy M, and you'll get a nice little discount. So we're going to float the bottom of the letters with just a little bit of asphaltum. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just enough to age the lettering a little bit at the bottom. That way it doesn't look quite so flat on the surface. Just warms them up a little bit. And then I only have one thing left to do for this piece, and I'm going to spatter our picture a little bit with some thin asphaltum, because I like spatter. A little bit. And then we're going to spatter with a little bit of warm white. Just a little. I don't want a ton of it on here, just enough to soften things a little bit. Like so. Because I like things softer. And I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to do a little bit of detailing with the gel pen, and we will be done. I like a little detailing with my gel pen. What?
33.4 acres.
Okay.
With a house.
Okay.
130
Where the hell is it?
Dumfries.
I don't know where that is.
It's on the way to Edmonton.
Oh. That's a hike.
It's a little close to,
Oh, yeah, for that price, you're not getting much.
and it's right on the river.
Floodplain.
Yep.
So I like to take my gel pen and just add scribbly lines. You guys know that. I like my scribbly lines. Detail my pumpkin a little bit. And I'm also going to detail the picture. Just a sketchy line right on the edges. Like this. Does not have to be perfect. I like those irregularities, those imperfections. They appeal to me.
I love to watch the Malinois dogs. They just fantastic.
Till you have one in your house.
Yeah. There's 3 rules of owning a Belgian Mal.
Yep.
You will bleed.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah.
They like to eat people. Lovingly, but they like to eat people. Maze tries to eat me on the daily. She likes to chew on me for whatever reason. She treats me like a human play toy. So, just a few sketchy lines. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be anything more than this. I like the sketchy lines. There we go.
Oh yeah. Second rule is if you're not in shape, you'll get in shape.
That's true.
It happens.
Yeah.
And third rule.
Well, the only people like Renee can handle Malinois. Actually, she's the razor sharp teeth. They have razor sharp teeth when they're puppies. It's like living with a piranha. Literally.
Yeah.
They're and they have to bite everything and everyone. It's like their mission in life. But as they get older, their teeth are not as sharp, thankfully. There we go.
And it's pretty sudden. It happens quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like overnight, all of a sudden they don't chew you to pieces. So there you go. Harvest blessings.
You people like Renee can handle Malinois.
Actually, now that she's trained and grown up a little bit, she's not hard to handle. She's much, though. I will say that. She's much.
She is much.
Yeah, she's much. She has a lot of energy. She's very bouncy. She wants to play. She's very affectionate. Ridiculously affectionate.
Would not recommend for a first time dog.
No, absolutely not.
If you've never had a dog before, don't get a Belgian. Don't get a Dutchie.
Yeah, don't get a shepherd. Yeah, they're high energy. I won't say high maintenance because she's not a high maintenance dog.
No.
She's not high maintenance, but she is. You do have to dedicate a lot of time to them, especially in the beginning. Not so much as they get older, but in the beginning, yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's all puppies.
That's puppies in general, but
Puppies.
she's just very high energy. That's all.
Puppies in general require some time off work.
Robin, did you get Gizmo a costume? No, please say no. I just.
No. Don't put a Frenchie in a costume.
I don't know why people do that. It's just. Although the other day I saw a Doberman Pinscher in a German beer garden waitress costume that it killed me. It just killed me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really love this. I love the wheat part. Wheat in general. I just think it's so timely for this time of year. And I love the juxtaposition of having that elegant stencil with this more rustic painting. It just appeals to me on a lot of levels. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. Renee is getting the wheel ready. Ta-da! Look at you go. And how many names are on it today?
240-ish?
Nice. Very nice.
250?
250 names. So, are you ready to spin it?
I will in a second. Here we go. There we go.
There it is. He's ready to spin. So, go ahead. Hit the button.
I'm going to shuffle it first.
He's going to shuffle it first. Okay.
Shuffle. Bang.
So, the giveaway for today, we have 3 fabulous brushes, the 3-brush set from Dynasty in the Black Gold series. Very nice. Winner is Debbie Pickett. So if your name is drawn for one of these prizes, please make sure that you hop over to the website at tracymoreau.net and click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information. Any packages that are not claimed within 14 days go back in the bin.
Yay, Debbie.
Sandy, have a great day at work.
Do you have a pattern with bittersweet on it?
I used bittersweet a few times. And flower of the berries.
Had a... Oh, they had a Weimaraner.
Oh, what a beautiful dog.
She was fawn and silver mixed. That's odd.
Yeah. Where's Linda?
Best dog ever. Very hyper the first few years, but so much joy.
Yeah. Spin the wheel.
Weimaraner. I love
They're
Weimaraner.
beautiful dogs.
They're beautiful dogs, but I won't own one unless they're over the age of 4.
Yeah. That good, huh? Cheryl Bentley.
They're much.
They're much?
Oh,
Okay. Cheryl Bentley.
They're a hunting dog.
Ah, okay. Serena, thanks for joining us today. Linda's probably painting. No doubt.
Cheryl Bentley.
Number 2, we have one more. Full of goodies.
Same with Ridgebacks. I wouldn't own a Ridgeback unless
They're a
was an
beautiful
older
dog,
one.
though, yeah.
Oh,
Holy smokes.
that's 2 names.
Yes, it is.
What
How
do we
did
do
that
there?
happen?
I probably did not separate the 2 with a comma.
Ah, okay. So it looks like Vernaculas is our winner, because that's the first one. And then Brenda Sawyer is going to get a consolation.
Yeah.
We always have extras.
Yeah.
So just make sure you rate
Oh,
a tag for Brenda Sawyer. So Brenda Sawyer and Vernaculas.
that's my mistake.
Renee made a mess. So we'll make sure that both these ladies get something.
We have 4 winners.
So we have 4 winners today. We always have extra goodies for giveaways. So, you know, when we have something like this, we do have something for the people involved. So no need to worry there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again, as you do every Saturday. We love having you here, and we're so thankful to have you join us. Pardon me.
Happy accident.
A happy accident. So join us next Saturday. We're going to have a fun little home decor piece for you for next Saturday. So you come and join us for that one. We're here at the same time every Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You can come and join us. If you're looking for the pattern for any class that we are teaching live, you can find it on my website at tracymurrow.net. Usually post it on the first page of the website. You just have to scroll down a little bit. If you get a chance, go and have a look at our $2 days pattern section on the website. We are going to be retiring a bunch of patterns for the time being, so go and check that out. And because it'll be your last chance, that comes down Monday. So you only got a couple more days to take advantage of that. We have full stock of stencils in if you're looking for something in particular, and we have tons of surfaces in, including the butterfly set, the surfaces for the butterfly set that Sandy and I did for for Chattanooga, sorry. So if you're looking for that set of butterflies, we have the surfaces available on the website. So everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. And so we'll see you again soon. Mwah. Love you. Stay safe.
Pet your dog. Hit the button. Hit the button.
Which button?
That button.
That button?
That button.
Okay.
That mute Renee one doesn't work.
Oh, okay. So, no, it doesn't? Does this one work? That's my mic. What am I doing?
Going end.
Bye.
Bye. You didn't mute us.
Did you say pet your dog?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Pet
Bye.
your dog.